We can start now. I have started the recording.
Okay. If I can see some of the participants, if they are okay with it, what are the instructions?
Yeah, we can start now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But probably the attendees will not be using the video or what?
No, like if they want to ask anything, they will chat or they will ask the questions. I will convey it to you, or you can also see those.
Okay. ठीक है.
Yeah.
Truly online.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarita. I'm one of the co-founders and the academic lead in an organization called the Teacher App. We are based out of Delhi and we work with the teachers. We created an app. On this app, we help teachers uh, get knowledge, training, and insights about classroom teaching as well as research in their education. And we provide in-service support to teachers through various products on our app. And this is an open source platform that we created, and teachers use it in their classrooms and for their own learning as well. Prior to that, I've been part of some schools teaching or teaching. I taught in a school at the primary level around 7 years before I got into curriculum development, teacher training, and the kinds of product development for teachers as well as children. Today's session is about uh, what do you keep in mind when you're doing any kind of a teaching learning resource. So let me share my screen and then we can sort of go ahead.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but your voice is cracking.
Is this better now?
Yeah.
You have disabled my screen sharing. If you could enable that, Kashish.
Yeah. One second. Can you try it now?
I can try it. Can you see my screen now? Kashish, can you see my screen
Yes.
now?
Yeah, the screen is visible.
Okay. So probably I thought of starting this session with a bit of a warm up. I wanted all the participants to go back to their past and recall one tool or resource, probably not a human, that has helped them learn deeply. And if they could sort of quickly write in a chat format. Uh, Kashish, you can make the screen in such a way that I can see my PPT as well as the participants and the chat box.
So there's the option down the chat near the participant. So if you open that, you could see the chat column.
I can. It's just that right now I'm seeing only my PPT more on screen and not your.
So okay, so so on the top there's the green thing that you're sharing the screen.
Yeah.
So don't press, but when you go there, you can see the options of chat and participants. Like move your cursor
I can
towards.
see. I
Yeah.
can see now. Yeah, somebody's writing. Madhurima said that I'm not audible. Okay, probably I am right now. Shreya is saying that books has helped her. Anyone else, please? Libraries, yeah. Probably library as a resource which also has books more than anything else. Books and YouTube videos, Madhurima says that. One or two people more and we can sort of go ahead then. Yeah, Google has been a great learning resource. Thank you for your responses. Now I want you to just think a little more deeply and figure out what exactly about these tools which is helpful in learning. You could just write some keywords of your response in the chat. That what about those books that have helped you learn? What about those books that are helping you learn better? Or what about that library? Or what about that YouTube video? What were specific reasons that that kind of a YouTube video worked or that book worked? Any keyword that sort of comes to your mind. Content. Depth of knowledge in books and easy explanation in YouTube videos, understanding of the concept better. Probably the video or the book helped you understand the concepts better. Thank you. Anything else about those things? Any tool that has helped you learn? What about that tool? क्या है उसके अंदर ऐसा जो कि आपकी मदद करता है? Probably not all books are able to help us learn. Not all YouTube videos are good. Think in those lines. Additional source of knowledge they are. Probably let's go ahead and see presentation. Yeah, how it is designed and how it is presented to you also helps a tool better in terms of making it helpful for learning. So in today's session, we are exploring these elements. That there are different kinds of teaching learning resources, but what about those teaching learning resources that helps somebody learn? And probably when you're looking at yourself and your journey as entrepreneurs, what is it that you can keep in mind? So what are these teaching learning resources in that actually? Teaching learning resources are any person or a material that is instructional in nature. So that is helping somebody teach either a content or a function that is used in a formal and informal teaching learning process. Learning resources can include print material, non-print material, audiovisual material. You people spoke about digital content as well. Any kind of a hardware, software resources or human resources are part of teaching learning resources. If we look at different categories of kinds of teaching learning resources, we can see some broad categories as some things which are related to helping an institution. So probably as entrepreneurs or as somebody who wants to work for teachers, who wants to work for children, who wants to solve some of their problems, we can look at solving problems of institution through certain materials. This could be either, policy documents or implementation made easily available or doable for schools or for colleges or for training institutes. It could also be creating inclusive policy implementable in any of those institutions. It could be assessment procedures made easy. It could be new teacher orientation tool kind of a thing that somebody wants to launch. So some teaching learning resources can be for institutions, but most of the teaching learning resources are generally thought about are from classrooms. So textbooks, journals, storybooks, teaching aids like board games, other kinds of games, science kits, language kits, any kind of kits, mathematics kits, there are plenty in the market. So these are all related to classroom teaching. And then there are certain digital resources that can be used for institution as well as for the teachers. These are MOOCs, videos, PDFs, interactive simulation. AR, VR is also pretty sort of in a very, it's still not in a very nascent stage, I would say, but it's there in the market right now. A lot of organizations are trying out that these are used in classroom directly. But when we look at any kind of teaching learning material, we have to apply certain lenses through which we look at quality of these things or the function or the purpose of these things. So for instance, if you have a content lens first, probably that is one of the most important lenses that you apply to any teaching learning resource or material. That whatever we are creating has to align or extend, if not align only, extend curriculum goals and objectives. For instance, it should be developed by competent authors or designers or producers with factual and representational correctness. It should be appropriate for subject area and for the age or emotional development, ability level, or learning style, or even school social development of the users. So whosoever is your user, it has to be age appropriate to that person. It has to be emotionally aligned. It has to be based on their learning styles and abilities. It should have a very aesthetic, literary, and social value as well. So any material that we are designing has to cater to its social value, its literary values, as well as the aesthetics of it. Anything designed badly is not going to excite the user to use it. It should also have the approach of having, a critical approach to education. So, for instance, it has to help the children think and think critically rather than accepting something the way they are. Excuse me for some of the spelling errors on the screen. I've just made it in a jiffy, I guess. Another lens that you provide, which is also, which are also the principles of designing any educational teaching learning material, that you have to have a social political lens also. So what is your ideology or what is your vision about teaching something? So probably if you're creating something in the realm of language, mathematics, science, anything, what are your broader educational goals in mind? And they have to align with the constitutional values. So for instance, they have to reflect sensitivity towards gender, sexual orientation, perspectives of caste, class, cultural differences have to be baked in that. If, for instance, a lot of books that are being created, we see only fair-skinned children in those books. When 6 years back, I was working on certain textbooks. A lot of designers would design books with taking some of the open source pictures from the internet, uh, which would be with blonde hair. And we would always say that look, we have to create illustrations ourselves which look Indian, and then in Indian skin there's so much of variety, so show that variety so the children experience diversity. Another very important thing there is that in the representation of anything that you're creating, it has to promote equality. It has to promote diversity and multicultural society in some form or the other. It should help users examine their biases, attitudes, their rights and responsibilities. It has to promote self-esteem. So it shouldn't be designed for a failure. So for instance, for a grade 1 or 2 children, if you're creating a game, that game should be a game which the children are able to play on their own in an assisted, scaffolded manner. It should not be designed for failure that suddenly the child says, oh, this is so difficult, probably I'm not good enough to play a puzzle like this. So it should promote self-esteem rather than promote failure. So set out children on a scaffolded manner from simpler to maybe complex tasks if you're designing a puzzle, for an example. It should not create language barriers as well. So understand your users well. What are their, which one is their first language? Are they comfortable in their second language? If you are making it in first language, how many targeted users are you sort of including? If you're making it in second language, probably is your reach getting better, but is this also creating language barrier? These kind of principles you need to keep in mind. And it should also include different kinds of abilities. Like for instance, if you're creating different kinds of educational games in various subjects, probably some should be related to logical thinking, but probably some should be related to artistic thinking, some should be related to linguistic ability. So have variety of abilities embedded so that all sorts of children are included in your product. Once you understand those kind of principles, probably then you can have a design thinking lens and then think about your product. So first and foremost, one has to empathize with the users, identify your users and empathize with them in terms of what kind of problems do they face. So probably in teaching learning resources, a huge problem is of access in Indian classroom. That there are no teaching learning resources in classrooms except teacher, probably some book, and if the school is good, probably a library. But apart from that, there are very few resources that are available, and teachers also don't use a lot of resources that she can use from community, she can use from her own environment. So children don't get to use a lot of material. You probably can empathize not just with students but also for teachers, with the teachers, saying that I want to solve a problem at the level of teachers more rather than at the level of children. So identify your users and empathize. Define your problem, ideate, prototype, test. I'll go into this, one by one, little more deeply now. At the level of empathizing, I was just saying that when you identify user, you can then decide that, okay, probably your product is only for students. It's a student facing product, or it's a teacher facing product, or it's a parent facing product, or probably school leader facing product. So define your user and probably solve their problem. When you're trying to identify or empathize with your users, you have to frame a problem statement, and that has to be human centered rather than a product centered. So probably rather than saying that, the books are not interesting, so I want to reinvent the textbooks in primary grades. That's product centered thinking. But if you make it a human centered thinking, that probably because of these books, what are the problems children face, what are the problems parents face, what are the problems teachers face, and so then your problem your problem statements will be more human centered, and probably because of that you'll be able to get feedback from them, talk to them, find out more about them, and then design something which is more useful for them. The other very important insight that I had while I was doing this kind of a work is to think of different kinds of categories within each user group and narrow down if you wish, but it should be broad enough for you to have a space of creativity and multiple iteration. So probably if your user group is teachers, then probably you can narrow down that what kind of a problem she faces in each categories of teaching, monitoring learning, assessing learning, documenting learning, communicating with parents, helping parents. What is it that she faces more? And probably I want to create my product in these two categories more. But your problem statement has to be broad enough for you to think of multiple solutions so that you're able to then decide what you want to do. Once you do that, and when you define your problem, then you can say that, okay, what aspect of any resource in teaching learning you want to improve or provide solution for? How does that help the people you're trying to solve the problem for? So there are certain tools on the internet you can find to define your problem better. One is a saturation method, in which you keep just brainstorming, keep writing on post-its, and keep pasting on your wall for you to just have a canvas of what kind of problems this user of mine faces, and then probably see for yourself where is your heart which is lying, where do you see the basic problem. If you could categorize all your brainstorming ideas into certain categories and see probably this chunk has major problems and probably I want to solve that. So this method is saturation. There might be different other definitions of this method, but I have used this a lot in my work. Another one is KWL sheet. A lot of you might be knowing about it. You can Google about some of these tools. A very important aspect of defining a problem is to also write a point of view statement from your user's perspective. So that helps you taking a perspective of your users, and probably that helps you define the problem better. Again, you'll find a lot of material on internet, and probably some kind of a self-learning can happen. I can also send out certain materials to Sharvari to you. Once you ideate something, then at that point in time, use the information about the users and problems and these principles that we have discussed so far. And then think and finalize the product or service you want to provide to your users and brainstorm and finalize some of the features. So for instance, if you just want to create um, probably you want to just sort of create maybe classroom libraries, that having a huge library in the school is a problem. The schools don't have the space to create a library. Maybe a classroom library kind of a concept is better, and I want to innovate on that, and I want to have uh, my organization writing stories for children in an age appropriate manner. So what these storybooks will be having, what will be some of the features of these storybooks which will be different or differentiate you from other people uh, in the ecosystem, is this kind of a thinking that happens at the ideate stage. Once you have some bit of understanding about your user, your problem that you want to solve, the ideation in your mind, probably think of the first version of your solution or solutions. What is it exactly, how it helps the users, which feature does it have, how it functions, how are you going to produce it? Are you going to produce it in-house? Are you going to produce it with certain vendor support? Do the vendors that you want for your product available in the ecosystem, or do you want to also, or probably you will need to also train the vendors for a newer product like this if it is a very creative product and probably vendors don't know how to create it. So these are some of the questions that happen at the stage of prototyping when you're you're thinking of the content, you're thinking of features, you're trying to put together. Probably a paper prototype is a good idea right now, and then probably going into a production phase with that and understand the costing and all of that happens at this stage. Once you do that, it's a good idea to create an alpha group and test out with your potential users that how does this really solve their problem, do they like this. Test your solution with multiple stakeholders also once you have tested this with your direct users. Use this feedback to again go back to this kind of an iterating process, which is if you find that probably your feedback is coming from the ideate stage more, probably go back to ideate, prototype a new one and test out. It might also be a possibility that probably you were thinking of a problem in a different way, but your users are thinking it in another way. Probably then you will have to go back to your defining stage again. It's always a good idea that when you are at the empathize and define stage, then you always, do some kind of surveys and market research to understand where your sort of product or service will fit in. If there are any questions at this point in time, I'm happy to take them.
Ma'am,
Yes.
someone has asked, like, can you give us some, uh, one second. Can you give us some insight about narrowing problem statements?
Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So probably I'll sort of cull out a template sort of to use to narrow down your problem. So I'll give you an example. Like for instance, if you want to solve a problem for children, and the children face a lot of problems, you know, in the classroom while teaching. Uh, so, for instance, some children find it very difficult to only learn from a chalk and talk kind of a method. Most of them are not able to learn this because this is a bad idea of teaching. But probably you don't want to solve any problem using a tool for all the children. You want to probably solve uh, the problem of some children who don't feel included in the classroom. So all the children with special needs probably. So rather than having a larger user group, you want to create something for those children in the classroom. So that means you're narrowing down your problem statement. So rather than saying all children after using this material will be able to learn mathematics better, you're saying I am helping all the children with special need get to basic numeracy by grade 3 using some of the tools that my company makes. So that is how you're narrowing down the problem. So it's up to you in terms of uh, uh, how many users you want to sort of tap in an ecosystem using your product. Depends on your passion, you know. At times it feels that, you know, if we want to solve all sorts of problem, maybe our product will get confused. It will not solve even one. So it's a good idea to narrow down to sort of one specific kind of a problem. Like for instance, if you want to just solve a problem saying that with chalk and talk method, teachers are not able to help children visualize the content or concepts. And without visualization, our brain doesn't sort of learn well. And probably you want to just, you know, provide a lot of concept maps to teacher through your organization, or you want to create a lot of visual material for teachers that teachers can use as flip charts in the classroom and can always carry those to the next class. And probably you want to make them with a material which doesn't get torn easily. So probably a longevity is kept in mind, durability is kept in mind. So here you're solving a problem of helping children visualize concepts. So that way you sort of narrow down your statements a little to sort of make it a very pointed thinking for yourself. Are there more questions right now? Ashish, if you could check.
Yeah. How empathy mapping can be done smoothly, more objectively?
I think one of the sort of tools that help is to know your users well. So one technique is survey, but that at times doesn't help us go deeper. Probably having more focus group discussions with various stakeholders within a user group is a good idea to empathize. The other thing is to also research, because a lot of research is done in children's difficulty to learn, what in education system hasn't worked so far, what are some of the basic problems Indian education system faces. All of that research is also available for us to empathize. So all of this can help. Probably more research, reading more about what has already been given as solutions but have never been tried out. Uh, uh, I also find a lot of material from sociological perspective into education, or political economic perspective into education very insightful for building empathy, because at times we actually are not able to see some of those differences in the classroom that that hinder learning in the classroom, because classrooms are not inclusive for all sorts of children.
Uh, Someone has asked that will it work out if directly we will interact with the stakeholder?
I think for when you do market research, before you try and sort of think around any problem and think around any product and service, it is always helpful to directly work, interact with the stakeholder. Uh, it's a very real insight, because a lot of secondary data probably doesn't give you that kind of a insight. So maybe create a smaller group, but do that. Like for instance, uh, when any product is created, at times it's been given from one person's perspective, probably. But I have another insight here, which sort of comes from my own experience, is that at times what users have not experienced, they will not be able to guide towards that. Uh, directly. Uh, so for instance, there's a thing that I use most of the time, that somebody doesn't know what they don't know. So how will they talk about that? But probably they will talk about their problems more. They will talk about their struggles more. And their day-to-day, their work satisfaction, their well-being. Probably these are the early, these are the direct signs from a conversation that you can pick up and then design your solutions around that. So it's always a good idea to interact uh, with the users as well as different stakeholders to build that kind of a multiplicity into your thinking. One of the very important thing that has also helped me is that whatever I'm creating, especially for children, if it is generative enough, as in two three ways. One is that, is this contextual and can it be used again and again by the child? Because in Indian system, a lot of private schools also, when they buy something, they can't buy it for all the batches all the time. And if it is a solution that parents are buying, then probably that product is only limited to an elite class, that probably a lot of other people will not be able to buy, because even books and uniform, all of that is very expensive these days, even in budget private schools for parents. So having a product with sort of schools buy, but they sort of use it for some years and then they replicate, is something that I find an important aspect as far as I'm concerned, though it's a bad thinking in business, but I do feel like that. Another one is generative in thinking, which means that it is activity based. It sort of creates a space for children to do a lot of hands-on work. Even if it is just a storybook, it should be written in a way as if it is talking to the child. So it generates thinking rather than replicates some thinking. It is not based on rote memory principles. It is based on generative thinking, active learning principles is one more important aspect when we're thinking of the products.
So, like,
I,
so
I actually skipped this one slide. I'm realizing when we were talking about the content lens and then probably social political lens, there is a methodology lens that I also sort of thought about thought that I will talk about, that I just shared, that all the materials have to be activity based rather than lecture based. They should draw students into some kind of a cooperative learning. That would be the best model for any kind of teaching learning resources. That first it has to have a space where children learn with other in smaller groups, and probably kind of an individual space also with the TLM. It has to be based on hands-on experiences, and it should encourage students to question, think, reflect, and probably decide for himself or herself. So there are different kinds of puzzles where sort of keeps asking children to do something on their own. I've seen a lot of material by Eklavya Vyasak or certain kind of science kits and science books that they've created where they've simplified the science experiments in a way that help children do this on their own, with very minimal help. ArvindGuptaToys.com has a lot of material like that, which is in the domain of science and which encourages decision making and self-learning skills. And it should be able to offer children some kind of a choice and flexibility. So for instance, when we wanted to solve a problem of self-learning for teachers in India, there were 2-3 models that we had. One was like, you create a MOOC for around 6 to 8 months. You ask teachers to enroll on one day and finish on another date. And everybody sort of goes in a journey in a linear manner. While we made it really open to anybody can come anytime, start a course anytime. We created small little modules of 45 minutes to 1 hour so that there's a quick win that, or victory that all the users experience that, okay, I've done something, I've got a certificate for, this small little item. And that's how we thought about it. So we created a very asynchronous kind of a UI UX for teachers where they can, drop in, drop out, start from where they started. So a lot of user choice and flexibility. Specifically, adults, they won't find a lot of time to give along the hours to anything. And so having that empathy in our thinking have sort of made us realize that probably our design has to facilitate the user's choice or flexibility.
So, like, do we need to make any questionnaire to interact with the stakeholder? Is the question.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to have your questionnaire in place before you go into any FGDs or any kind of interaction with the users. Probably, see, whenever you're getting into an entrepreneurship space, you already have some inkling in terms of what kind of a problem you want to solve and what do you want to sort of make. Probably it's a good idea to ask them about the problems that they face, what could be in their mind possible solutions. At times the solutions might come from only their experiences and not outside what is all possible, and probably you are in a good position to solve it, but listening to them would sort of also give you some kind of a ground reality. If you have any idea about the also, that probably that help. If something like that is created, will that help you? So having a questionnaire definitely will help. On internet, there's a lot that you can find as helpful for yourself if you want to create any questionnaire for stakeholders. Uh, I've also found that in teaching learning processes, anything can be a resource. Like for instance, I remember once I've just asked children to create a lot of drawings around some stories that I used to tell them. And every week they will generate a lot of drawings, and we use some of these drawings to then present a play that children did. So probably for me, children became teaching learning resource for another set of activities. They saw their work on scene and they performed using those pictures. So, this whole uh, uh, in tradition, in storytelling tradition, a lot of states use, you know, those pictures. पड़कथा होता है राजस्थान में, डाउन साउथ बहुत तरह के पिक्चर्स का इस्तेमाल होता है, पोतुल एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट, कठपुतलियों का इस्तेमाल होता है. हमने सोचा कि बच्चों की ड्राइंग वो बहुत सहजता से बनाते हैं, व्हाई डोंट वी यूज देम for teaching learning material. So even that was used. But now probably for all of you, if you want to create a product to solve a problem or a service to solve a problem, then you have to also think from where are you going to procure it? Are you procuring it or are you creating it yourself in-house with vendors? How much money to produce at scale if you want to solve a problem at scale? All of these questions are design questions around your service. So probably what helps a teacher in a classroom can be very simple things, you know, as you know, probably कुछ कुछ फ्रूट्स के दाने, बीज हो सकते हैं, इमली के बीज हो सकते हैं, लकड़ियां हो सकती हैं. But when you are thinking of productization of something, you have to also think कि तुम कौन सी तरह का मटेरियल बनाओगे, किस चीज को प्रिपेयर करोगे. Now, for instance, long back I saw a mathematics material of an organization called Vikalp. What they were creating was, you know, जोड़ो ज्ञान kind of a material. लेकिन वो उसमें कार्डबोर्ड का इस्तेमाल कर रहे थे, nothing else, because they didn't want to use plastic because they thought that we are against using plastic. So उनको लगा कि वो बहुत थिक कार्डबोर्ड से अगर सब चीजें बनाएंगे इन अ कलरफुल मैनर, systems will appreciate. Lekin this I'm talking about around 6 years back, and probably a lot of private schools in Delhi, they faced a lot of resistance from, because they didn't appreciate the fact कि ये non plastic material है. What they just kept saying कि cardboard का है, जल्दी बच्चे तोड़ देंगे, गीला हो जाएगा तो टूट जाएगा, all sorts of things. And they had research backed, you know, that when children are given something which is little fragile in nature, children develop the sensitivity to handle it. And they, but some of the insensitive school systems were not able to understand that. I don't know what is their journey now. They do still exist, so I'm sure they've been able to convert some of the sensitive users into regular users or regular buyers for themselves. But probably it was their thinking, their passion, and they took a chance with that. So एजुकेशन सेक्टर के अंदर कई बारी जरूरी नहीं है कि आप वही बनाओगे जो हमेशा यूजर आपको कह रहा है. कई बारी हम यूजर के टेस्ट को भी डेवलप करने के लिए कुछ बना सकते हैं. सो प्रोबेबली दैट काइंड ऑफ अ रिस्क टेकिंग is important. So probably we can sort of shift to some kind of a discussion if some of the attendees can share some of the TLMs that they know are very good for teaching learning processes. If they can give those examples to each other, that will be helpful for the entire group. And Kashish, maybe you can sort of take a lead, asking all the attendees to share one by one.
Yeah. Like they are saying that discussion would definitely give more in-depth understanding than just like going with the questionnaire.
Yeah, focus group discussions to my mind have always helped me better, because then I can always ask the following questions or leading questions. कि अगर एक सवाल से एक जैसा आंसर नहीं मिल रहा है, and also I have faced कि क्वेश्चनियर भरने से अच्छा होता है क्वेश्चनियर बना के आप ले जाओ और उसके आधार पर डिस्कशन करो. इंडिया में वैसे ही मतलब टीचर्स के पास उस तरह से बहुत ज़्यादा टाइम होता नहीं है. कई बार बस फ्रेजेस में कुछ 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 लिख के भर देते हैं, तो बहुत ज़्यादा डेटा आता नहीं है रिटन क्वेश्चनियर से. कॉन्वर्सेशन से आता है, बट एट द बैक ऑफ इट यू विल ऑलवेज हैव अ क्वेश्चन. Can we move on to some of the attendees talking about some of the materials that they have seen in the market that they find fantastic? Like I find Eklavya storybooks and Ektara storybooks.
Yeah, like storytelling is an effective tool, I think, for preschool children, like one of the attendees said.
Yeah. But can they unmute themselves and talk? Or Can I see more than?
Actually, I've made you the host for screen sharing. Can you, like, on the right side, there's the attendees. There might be an option.
Yeah, it says allow to talk.
Yeah. Um, Actually,
Hello. Hello.
yeah, you can speak.
Yes, hello.
Am I
Madam,
audible?
actually, yeah. Yes, can you also hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, madam, what I'm thinking is like for classes 6 onwards. Okay. So if we want technology to be a part of curriculum. Okay. Yes, can you hear?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So I actually want to work on this. Like technology should be a part of curriculum because yes, they have subjects like science, fundamentals, all these things. But since technology is growing so fast, children also should be exposed to those basics from the very early age, so that when they come to the higher classes like 8 to 9, they'll be able to think out of the box and they will be able to use the technology to solve their problems. So what do you think, madam, about this?
No, I think uh, because you are in a entrepreneurship kind of a program, always explore whatever you feel like should be done for children first and foremost. The other important thing is helping children or enabling children to use technology to learn is an essential life skill right now. So it's an important aspect that everybody should be working in schools. Probably in India, there's a huge digital divide. So a lot of schools don't have devices. Children also don't have internet connection at home and also availability of devices. So probably any other organization, helping organizations doing this kind of a bit in school is super useful and valuable. Um, the only aspect when we design any technology program has to be kept in mind that we make uh, children the users of technology rather than consumers of technology. So earlier, there used to be so many programs that used to come in schools where children would sit and see a lot of things on screen and probably just play some things, which is like passive engagement with technology. There are certain programs in India now, they help children design something using technology, solve a problem using technology, uh, prototype different things using technology, communicate with students from other cultures within India and outside India using technology. All of these things. So anything that you do under the realm of skills, core skills of education using technology is more valuable. Uh, is what I feel. You can also explore more in terms of what exactly through technology that you want to do and what kind of a program that you want to create with that. और उन सब प्रोग्राम के चलते बच्चे सारे टूल सॉफ्टवेयर इस्तेमाल करना सीख जाएंगे, चाहे वो वीडियो मेकिंग हो, चाहे वो पावर पॉइंट्स हो, चाहे वो ऑडियो हो, चाहे वो किसी कोडिंग हो, all sorts. So these are important skills, but they should be done in a context of doing something, finding something, making something, and so that becomes more interesting for children and useful for children.
So that means like what I got your point. Like we have to just link it with the subject. So whenever they learn something basic, they will also link technology with that.
Yeah.
That will be helpful.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Lovely
Yeah.
listening to you. Now it feels like a room.
Hi, ma'am. Hello. Hi, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So my thing is about giving children, being a student, giving children more of a practical learning, like hands-on activity, and also something that is career-oriented. So in that case, children need not, have a fear about entrance exam, and right from their sixth standard, it's like a foundation-based learning. So it's basically the altering which we need to do in the content, textbook content. So, what do you have to say about this?
So see, as the world outside is extremely vast in terms of different kinds of job, right? Different kinds of professions.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
yeah. So and then, um, so everything if becomes part of the main curriculum becomes very difficult for any school to handle. Then the problem of selection comes in, that what will you choose, what will you leave out, and then you will operate from your biases in terms of what should be the better jobs in the
Okay.
market, apart from
Okay.
rather than saying that okay, give children all sorts of exposures and let children take a better choice based on what they want to do, and also what are their some of their barriers if you are able to help them cross. So that may become a better career related support that you can provide as an organization if you want to open an organization like that. So school subjects definitely have space to include some of these real life exposure. uh, in fact, long back, Gandhian's idea of basic education was also about that, or Dewey's idea of education was also that children should be learning in community, with the community, solving problems of communities. And that is what education is. Even Dewey said that. And basic education was also about, learning from your hands and doing things on your own and learning in a community. So one kind of a restructuring of the curriculum is definitely required in India. But probably what you said in the later part of your question was also about career guidance. And for that, you need to decide what is your audience. Are you helping, are you narrowing your users, or do you want to help all students? If you want to help students, where is your backup of researching and giving them important information about those careers? How are you going to align them with, probably an apprenticeship model? A lot of organizations do that, that all the children from sixth grades get some kind of a guidance in terms of what is available, what's not available. If you want to shadow somebody who does this work for a week, for you to get a taster of what this work looks like, all sorts of things you can think of. You have to define your problem more clearly in terms of what exactly do you want to solve. Do you want to solve um, restructuring the curriculum, or do you want to solve uh, support in career decisions, or do you want to solve barriers in career decisions? For instance, some organizations just create a lot of financial and mentorship support for children to get into professional courses. So if you define your problem more clearly, then you'll have some kind of a path to explore different kinds of solution, and probably your organization want to work on this particular solution because nobody else is working on the solution. So probably you have an edge there. That's how, if you think, then you'll be able to get to some kind of a solution, product or service.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kashish, I think we're little over the time right now.
Yeah.
If there are no questions now, we can sort of call it a day.
Okay.
So
So
maybe because we are very few in numbers, I would sort of end this webinar by just taking probably one sharing per person about, was there something exciting in this webinar for you, something new that you picked up, or something insightful that you picked up for your thinking? If you could just say that in like one sentence each, and we can end this session. Can we start with anybody? Actually, anybody can start.
So someone has written like it was absolutely useful, ma'am.
I mean, feel free to also write it on the chat if you don't want to speak. Thank you so much. I feel happy.
Hello, may I speak?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, ma'am. As early childhood associations that is there in India, we are in which school I am working. That is preschool Podar Jammu Kids. And why storytelling? I said because our president, that Swati ma'am itself, so Dr. Swati Popatwat, she herself, yeah, she herself presents the story in such a voice modulation and very nice presentation. So I think storytelling is effective tool. And one more, that is, as you said, hands-on activities, that also various types of tools and activities we are using. So that is also working out. And that was, of course, our president's experiment, and that had been success. I when I looked at Balwadis, I found that they are that sevikas, Balwadi sevikas or Anganwadi sevikas are lacking in this skill where the voice modulation is required, where the connectivity with the children is required, where they need effective teaching. Maybe their skills they need to develop. So or tools or like that. So I'm thinking to those facilities which international school, preschool children are enjoying or they are getting, like that way it should become in Balwadis or Anganwadis. Yeah, so that I am going to try.
Please try, because see, not all teachers will develop performative skills very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
In-service training doesn't have theater and storytelling courses.
Yeah.
As the teacher training course that I did, I had a theater class separately and as well as storytelling session separately. Uh, and then I did bit of a theater in my life after my college.
Yeah.
So when we train teachers like that, they can't learn it gradually, but they can gradually learn that, and probably as a service, your organization can think about either face-to-face training or video-based training or voice modulation training, and maybe giving them a lot of exposure in terms of how to tell stories to children.
Yes.
And that might help. So yeah, but it's a long way to go. Teachers require a lot of support.
Yeah, means mostly I will work on concept understanding. So how we can, through the stories or any kind of tools, like I will make, and if they will be able to understand, that will be kind of experiment.
A lot of times only just using hand puppets in classroom does a lot of deal.
Yeah.
Preschoolers.
Yeah.
So how to also provide those kind of skills to teachers where they can make easy puppets is also a good space to.
Yeah. Many we know that, means as I have done one diploma ICC, so I came to know that with our homemade material also we can make many puppets. But these Balwadi Sevikas, when I look at them, so they are lacking in that. I observe that.
So probably an entrepreneur can get into this space of providing cheap puppets.
Yeah. Let's see. Thank you.
रीमेक कर सकते हैं चीजों को, रीयूज करके बना सकते हैं, बिकॉज हम कोशिश करते हैं कि सब कुछ शिक्षक बना लेंगे. उनके पास उतना मेंटल स्पेस नहीं हो सकता, किसी के पास स्किल भी नहीं हो, तो एक तो वो सीखें और उसके साथ साथ कुछ इस तरह के स्पेसेस भी डेवलप हो जाएं सपोर्ट में, तो वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है. और स्कूल खरीद सकता है ना, 20 पपेट खरीद सकता है, साल भर के लिए काफी है.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Should we call it a day then? Probably you guys had a longer day than me.
Yeah.
Okay then, thank you so much each one of you, and hope you find this useful, and if you have any questions.
So one, it's like she's telling that understanding the existing solutions that is already available and intends to solve the problem. So she has something in mind is like create a collaborative platform.
Yeah, uh, so it's a good idea for all of us who want to get into the space of entrepreneurship to find out what already exists in the ecosystem, because it's not a good idea to reinvent the wheel. Uh, find inspiration from what other people are doing, what are they facing in problems in terms of production, problem in terms of sourcing materials, problem in terms of scaling their solutions, all of that, and probably learn from those initiatives before you think about something for your own self. It's a very good idea, and then collaborate with like-minded organizations or people and things like that. This I'm talking about from purely from entrepreneurship space. But if we are only students, teachers, teacher trainers, teacher educators, collaboration is a must. Otherwise, there's a lot of fatigue in the space of education, because at times you feel that you're working for 10 years now, nothing has changed much. Or you have trained something, you really don't know what has happened to that classroom. Does it change or not gradually? So because of that, it's a good idea to collaborate and work in a sustainable manner in one geography for some years before you sort of say that you have impacted something. Impact is a big question, specifically in entrepreneurship space. How do you define that you've impacted something?
I think we are done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you.